marvelous things, included among them some of my students were John Kennedy Jr., David Duchovny, everybody knows. Taylor is National Slam Poetry Champion, and he also wrote deaf comedy, deaf poetry, which you've seen on Broadway. He wrote for that. He started a program called Stage Meets Page. Through that, he brought Galway Canal to people and many poets. If you go onto YouTube and just Google Taylor Molly, you'll see some interesting stuff. Okay. This poem, poetry can save your life. That's all I want to say about poetry. Poets have poetic license, and Taylor in this poem has taken some poetic license. So he's changed the names to protect the guilty in this case, and he also has stretched time a little bit, because the events that are described in this piece happened while I was a teacher here, but he and I were still in contact then. I'll fight you for the library for Dr. Joseph D'Angelo, 5th grade English teacher, PhD, black belt, and sensei.
Hooah!
To Clarissa Lerner, librarian. Dear Clarissa, I understand that the periods I reserved in the library next week for my classes have been canceled. Just out of curiosity, who and or what is more important than my class's research needs? 2, to Nancy Devlin, secretary to Dr. Richard Blackstone, Dean of Instruction. Dear Nancy, the librarian informs me that Dr. Blackstone has reserved the library for a facilities utilization meeting of the administration next, and that all classes scheduled to meet in the library on that day must meet elsewhere. This is wrong. Academic instruction takes precedence over administrative meetings, period. That Dr. Blackstone, the Dean of Instruction, would even consider canceling one class's library period in order to hold a meeting called Facilities Utilization is so obtuse, I am incapable of appreciating the irony. 3, to Dr. Richard Blackstone, Dean of Instruction. Dear Dick, with all due respect, I do not think you do understand my, quote, frustration, unquote, or else you would have not used that word. See, I am not, in fact, frustrated. The correct word would be outraged. I will not reschedule any of my classes' library periods for any administrative meeting, especially one that purports to be discussing the effective use of the school's facilities. I do not care if the library is the only place in the school big enough to accommodate your meeting. It is also the place in the school with books! And lastly, I would be the first to apologize for editorializing through your secretary if I thought that the statement, academic instruction takes precedence over administrative meetings, were a matter of opinion and not, in fact, a matter of fact. And not one that I thought I would have to explain to the Dean of Instruction. To conclude, if any of my classes are denied the use of the school's library to make room for an administrative meeting called Facilities Utilization, then alert Joyce Santiago, the school superintendent, to be ready to accept my resignation. 4, to Dr. Joyce Santiago, school superintendent. Dear Superintendent Santiago, for 35 years I have served the interests of my students, providing them with all the encouragement, guidance, resources, respect, and love they require to grow into productive, responsible, informed, and well-prepared members of the community. I do not take this responsibility lightly. I take it with all the nobility, grace, and gravitas of the teaching profession. So on behalf of my students and their parents, I thank you for finding another place for Dr. Blackstone to hold his meeting. Sincerely, Dr. Joseph G. D'Angelo, 5th grade English teacher, PhD, Blackbelt, sensei. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank Sam and George for the work they've done. I saw John in the background and Mr. Novak who's done a terrific job organizing this. I would love to stay. Unfortunately, I have to go and practice singing. So those of you who are tenors know we need all the help we can get. All right, thank you. Have a great night. Thanks.
Bye.
So, on a side note, for everyone that submitted poems and